Hello, and welcome to another episode of Movies That Make Us. I'm Jake.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Val.
And Val is coming to us from an undisclosed location in the middle of Texas.
Yeah, I was going, so I'm in Texas at this tattoo convention. I've never been to a tattoo convention before. I know that's crazy because I've been to every other kind of convention.
Right.
So I'm in Longview, Texas, and
where is Longview?
I don't know.
In the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Texas.
Here. I think we're 2 hours from, I want to say Dallas, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
We're 2 hours from a major city.
Okay. All right.
But we drove here, and it's 20-hour drive. So the first day we were making really good time. We stopped in New Mexico after 10 hours. Everything was going great. The next morning we woke up, we got on the road. We stopped at this cute little diner in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was on Route 66. I love it. I love to do those things. And we had looked up to see what was an official, authentic, hole in the wall Route 66 diner.
Mm-hmm.
And we found this diner called Comet 2. And I had to do some work because my job doesn't end.
Right.
So we ate. I opened my laptop, doing some work. Everything's good. I go outside. I'm like, you know what? I just feel sticky and gross. I want to get some face wipes out of my backpack. It's in the trunk. Open the trunk, grab my wipes, go to shut the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Trunk won't shut all the way.
Oh no.
So we're like, okay, what's stuck? We have all this tattoo equipment in the back, suitcases, everything, but we've opened and closed it a million times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to close it, and I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be a reset button because it's one of those where it's automated. You click it and it closes. And you can click it and it opens, right? So if there's something askew, then it could. So I get on the YouTube, can't find anything. So Dave ties it shut. After he kicks it, I love my husband. He is one of the nicest guys in the world, but he has Hulk moments where he gets angry and it just comes up, and it's not at anyone else. It's just the rage within him. And he, of course, kicks it thinking if I kick it, it'll fix it.
It'll fix it, yeah.
His car is only 4 years old. He bought it brand spanking new. So we tie the trunk closed. It's beeping the whole way to this teeny tiny little Toyota dealership in another small town in New Mexico. And we stop. Before we get there, I managed to get on YouTube and find out how to shut the beeping off. But there was a moment where and I've got this new red hair that I'm loving. And there was just this moment where I was like, it's going to be okay. The sun's coming down. I'm just
trying to find your inner Zen.
I'm doing the Black Widow to Hulk conversation.
Awesome.
So we get to the dealership and they're looking at it and they're doing the same thing I did, resetting it, all the YouTube things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get their flashlight out and they find out that the hinges that are holding the door onto the car have torn. The metal hinges have torn.
Oh,
how does that even happen?
So apparently it's not that uncommon for this car. I got on the interwebs, I got on the Reddit, I got on message boards and other Toyota places. It's not like it happens all the time.
Right.
But there's enough stories out there that made Dave feel better that he's not the only one.
Yeah. If it's going to happen.
I always have feeling of what did I do wrong to make this weird thing happen to my car? And then you find out, okay, no, wasn't me.
So we're just thinking our trip that went from great to like then into the Avengers universe for a minute is now going to end up being National Lampoons on the way home, because we have to keep opening and closing the trunk because we got to load things in and out. And we've got this string that's this twine rope thing that's holding it down so that it doesn't go flying open. And so the exhaust does not go into the car, because that happened for 20 miles. That was super fun.
Think of
we
that.
had to get it closed enough because we're just like fixed. We have the windows down in New Mexico, like driving.
Was the beeping happening while the asphyxiation was taking place?
Oh, yeah. It was super fun. I'm just over there, like, don't say anything. Don't move. Don't. Because Dave's just trying to hold it in. Because this car, he bought it brand new, and it has had nothing but problems. Like, like he's had to fix so many things. And, of course, the dealership's like, well, we don't know that we can do anything about it. So guess what? They've never met me, so we'll figure it out. But
Val's Hulk is going to come out.
No, but I'm nice about when I want things done. But when you're supposed to, when there's a right way, like it's a manufacturer issue, I think at this point. Anyway, sorry, I know this was like a tangent about, but I feel you like had told me like that I looked like Scarlett Johansson before we came on, and I'm like, hold on. Because I had a Black Widow moment 2 days ago. I feel like coming down.
I feel like with this story, we kind of just need to like talk about a road trip movie, like Tommy Boy or something.
Exactly.
Like, let's do it when I get back, because
it's obviously
you're living through it right now.
But on the way back, we should not only just have like one side tied closed, but like another side, because if the wind picks up like it was on the way out, that door could just be gone. Like I just picture the door flying off, the equipment flying out, some poor little people driving behind us with like, you know,
Final Destination
chairs and
Final Destination. Wow, Tracy. At least nobody dies in mine.
But yeah, so I was going to do this in the bedroom, but Dave is sleeping and I didn't want to wake him up, and he's snoring, and I figured that probably wasn't good like sound effects for us. Plus he deserves to sleep. He tattooed for like 10 hours yesterday, did 3 tattoos in one day. He's amazing.
On the same person too.
On the same person. She was a trooper.
That's a lot. That's a lot in one day.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So she's a trooper. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to get used to this because I'm going to be traveling more often, but I will be able to have my own room, and I'll be in there with my mic and my headphones and everything. But I'm in the little business center.
Ooh,
nice.
So I'm thinking on a Saturday, like nobody's coming in here. It was either this or the gym.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't think either of them are getting used today.
Well, and I'm sure that there's plenty of like high-powered business meetings that are happening in Longview, Texas, at that business center.
Multi-million-dollar contracts are taking place there. Yes.
I looked it up, Tracy. So Longview is 60 miles west of Shreveport, Louisiana, and 125 miles east of Dallas, Fort Worth.
Wow.
Area. So there you go.
You are out there.
Yeah. Texas is a weird state though, because it's like you've got Dallas and Fort Worth, you've got Houston, and then you've got like Austin and San Antonio, and then like nothing. Like just these little towns and miles of nothing. We should probably throw El Paso in there, but who wants to? So
did you guys see the cool pictures of that shipwreck?
Yes.
Like, mountain thing?
Yeah, that was
We're driving around it, and I'm like, babe, like, how do we get there? Like, we've got time. How do we get there? And we found a road that led us. Like, we started at one side and went all the way around. And it does look cooler on the other side that I didn't get pictures of because there's all this rock like coming up. But there's some cool stuff in the middle of nowhere out here.
I think that this might have to be developed into a screenplay, Val.
Hey, get on it.
I'm too busy traveling to write this.
No, you're a better writer than me. What are you talking about? Like I can help you make the movie. You gotta write it though. I give the ideas, you create the magic, then I make it happen. Like
Let's do this.
We've been doing this for how many? 3 years.
3 years.
3 years ago, yesterday, we had episode number 5 up. It was in my memories. Gosh. Episode number 5.
Wow.
Yep.
We really like each other because we check it out.
As we keep coming back. What was episode 5? Do you remember? I don't remember.
I can look it up. I also wanted to let you know that tomorrow when I leave here, I'm going to the Uranus Fudge Factory in Missouri.
Yes!
So that I can get that sticker. And I'm just going to leave that for you to figure out what that's going to say.
I have multiple variations already. It's like when I went to Beaver and I had to stop at the Beaver Taco and get a sticker.
That taco place is named after me. It's Val's Tacos.
This is true. Yeah. And then I'm sure.
It was Wally. Wally was our 5th episode.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, great one.
Yeah. Go listen to that, peeps.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of feel like since Val's in Texas and all this craziness is happening, I should have picked No Country for Old Men to talk about today.
I mean, you don't need to. It's not necessary.
I mean, if it is in fact your favorite former Best Picture winner, then you can talk about
it's up there. But
yeah. And that's what we're talking about. That was a great segue, Tracy. Since you're getting better at those segues, since you like to point out how well I'm doing on the segues, today we'll point out how well you're doing. I had one, by the way, off of Wall-E, who I believe won Best Animated Feature.
It did
at the Oscars. So I had one all set, but thank you for doing my job for me, Tracy. I appreciate it.
I like to share the load.
This is our last episode, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Hi, good night, everybody.
The band is breaking up.
When this episode drops on Monday morning, I hate to ruin the magic for everyone, but we're recording this before Monday. And when this episode drops, it will be after the Oscars. And we have no idea what's going to happen at the Oscars, except that people will talk a lot.
People will be upset.
It'll go over by about 20 minutes because it always does. And people are going to be unhappy regardless of who wins. So,
as long as Licorice Pizza doesn't win, I'll probably be okay.
Licorice Pizza is not going to win.
It's not going to win, Tracy. This has become like this big fear for you. It's not going to happen.
It just can't.
It's not going to
There's an alternate multiverse universe where this happens, and it's just I feel bad for those people.
This is not. I knew you were going to bring that up, and so I did want to preface that this is not the year 2000 where American Beauty. A movie where I feel like is similarly not appropriate to win an Oscar, won Best Picture. It's crazy to me. I'm not saying now. This is the thing. I do not care for the movie, and I don't think that it holds up. If it opened in theaters today, for more than one reason, that movie wouldn't have made it.
That plastic bag has more respect and clout in Hollywood than Kevin Spacey does. So.
Plus, I just think what the movie is about isn't really.
Yeah.
Well, and then you've got 1998 where Shakespeare in Love beat out.
Listen, are we going to get into this again?
Yes, we're going to. Every time it comes up, we have to hear about Shakespeare in Love.
All right, go ahead.
And how not in love Tracy is.
Let it out, Tracy.
That's one that didn't. It's a decently made film, but it did not deserve to win Best Picture by any stretch of the imagination that year.
What did deserve to win Best Picture that year?
There was Quiz Show. There was Shawshank Redemption. I believe Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. I think Shawshank.
I mean, any of those.
Between those movies, I think both Shawshank and Quiz Show hold up better. And if Pulp Fiction was nominated that year, I think it also holds up better than. Not that I've seen Pulp Fiction, but just
don't.
Style of
don't, Jake. Please
one
don't.
One of my favorite jokes in the show Community is when the very Christian lady says, "Oh, I watched that once. It was a nice 30-minute film about people who did Bible study together."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you watched the edited version.
Yeah. So Quentin Tarantino is not my jam. I just know that. I'm sure he's a talented, super great filmmaker, and I'm not trying to say anything disparaging. He just does not make movies that appeal to me and what I enjoy to watch.
Yeah. Right.
But if I were to ever watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, it would be Pulp Fiction, because I think that's probably his most iconic.
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs, man.
That and Reservoir Dogs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would watch Reservoir Dogs over Pulp Fiction. This is the thing. I'm right there with you with Quentin Tarantino. We could do a whole episode on Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
I respect his filmmaking. I think that the way that Pulp Fiction was made and the way that he challenged the audience in viewing that and it worked. It was really great. The movie itself was not for me. Quentin Tarantino is not really for me, but I respect him as a filmmaker. But Reservoir Dogs, I think, is my favorite film of his.
That's probably my favorite as well. Yeah.
All right. And if I were to ever see one, I'll watch Reservoir Dogs and not Pulp Fiction. But not that I'm planning on doing. And I know that people will say, "How do you know until you've ever seen it?" There's just some things you know.
We know for you, Jake.
Yes, we know for you. Yes,
you should never watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and I'm totally comfortable with that. But people who love Quentin Tarantino, I think that's awesome. I am not trying to say he's not talented. He is. It's just not for me.
You shouldn't watch Jackass Forever. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
I knew I didn't need to see it.
I feel like, okay, so here's the thing. With Quentin Tarantino, I think there's a certain amount of pressure if you're into movies to see something that's done because he is who he is and what he's accomplished. There is zero pressure, I feel, to see any iteration ever. It's not for me. Trailers are amazing in that way to help you know that movie is just
know. Yeah.
Again, if you enjoy Jackass Forever and Jackass movies, whatever, that's fantastic, and I think that's wonderful. Takes all sorts of people. So,
and I'm looking at your wall, Jake. You've got several. Well, you've got Rocky there. Star Wars wasn't nominated, but that's a classic.
Yep, I do
love that Rocky poster though.
Right there.
Yeah,
but I think that's got to be from Rocky 2.
Oh, is that 2?
Yeah,
because he's got the belt.
And
he doesn't win against Creed. So I think it's either Rocky 2 or Rocky 3. But I love that picture. I just love the whole Rocky series. So
I think we may have picked the same favorite movie.
We didn't, because I knew that might be one that somebody picked, so I didn't go there. So
I tried not to be predictable today, but it's really hard because the ones that I like, I've said over and over that they're the ones the movies that I like. So I don't know.
Let's jump into it, Val. What'd you pick?
Yeah, what'd you pick, Val?
It was really hard because you guys all know that the reason I even went to film school was because of a certain movie. And I've talked about this movie a lot. And, Schindler's List and Steven Spielberg just is such a turning point in my life. Like watching that movie changed the way that I looked at a lot of stuff. And that movie came out in 1994. I was a child.
Yeah, I was first year in college, second year in college. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just heading into ninth grade at that point. And I didn't get to see it in the theater because that wasn't a movie that my parents were even thought about taking a kid to, right?
Right.
And so I didn't get to see it until a year later when it was on like HBO or something. And I kind of was sneaky and watched it. And then I had to go in and tell my dad, like, I just watched this movie. And he's like, oh yeah. And then he watched it and he's like, yeah, that's, and so we talked about it. So, but I've talked about that movie before. And so I didn't want to pick that, but I've also talked about Rocky before.
That's okay.
And Rocky to me is my pick of the day.
Okay.
Because this is the thing. I don't think that if that movie was made today, it being as good as it and updated and whatever, I don't think it would be nominated because it's a box office hit.
Yep.
It is I put it in the same category as like these action hero, superhero movies, or, you know, like Creed is really good, but not nominated for anything. But I think that it was just this flashpoint moment in history where everything came together right for Sylvester Stallone and these filmmakers. And for some reason, a blockbuster hit won Best Picture. And it was deserved, and it's still deserved.
It holds up so well.
But it was, you know, he wrote the screenplay in 3 days, which is crazy. He wasn't anyone. Like, he just wasn't. This is, I mean, it's kind of like the Good Will Hunting kind of story, you know, like with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, but they had done more work in Hollywood than he had done, because he did something on the East Coast, a movie that he was really big in, but it wasn't a big movie, and decided, I'm going to move to Hollywood, wrote a script in 3 days, and then the movie got made. Like, that doesn't happen. That's like the American dream. And then it won Best Picture. So for me, I had to pick that because just the story behind it, and the fact that, you know, even today, like it won in what, 1977. I wasn't even born yet. And it won Best Picture.
You had to drop that.
People, it's poignant to
I know
the story. But people still love it, like of all ages. Like people younger than me are like discovering it. People Sammy's age, my daughter's age, are discovering it and loving it. But I don't think it was just a fluke. It was some random fluke that it would have even been nominated, right? Am I the only one that sees this?
No, absolutely.
And I think what's really interesting about Rocky is I don't know that there's a whole lot of movies that really capture the feeling of the time like Rocky.
Yes.
Because it is a snapshot of that is how America felt in 1976, 1977, from stories that I've heard from elders that have talked to me. But even down to the fact, like, he's a blue collar worker, how hard it is for the blue collar worker at that time. Even down to the fact that in the big match, he doesn't win.
Right.
He goes the distance.
Yeah.
He goes the distance and that's it, but he doesn't win. And that is so like 1970s, where it's just about like going the distance is the big victory, right? Like, it's not until we get into the Rockies in the 80s where he wins, because the 80s is all about winning all the time, no matter what.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, he does win in Rocky 2, and I think that also came out in the 70s. But really, like, that was the attitude in the 70s is, just going the distance, waking up, doing your thing every day, and just making it to the end. That's a victory. That's it.
I mean, he was up against all the President's Men, Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman. Like, this movie was also kind of poignant for its time, but I just want to say this, like, Rocky was also, he is not really what Hollywood was looking at the time.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Like, if you look at All President's Men, that's Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. Like, that's Hollywood, right? And then you've got this, you know, Philly guy with like this accent. You can't quite understand everything. He doesn't really look like anyone. Nobody knows him. He doesn't play the politics. And so it's just for me. And I think it was up against a movie called Network that I don't think I saw.
Oh, Network's good.
That's the prequel to The Social Network.
No, it's not.
Dude, that was quick.
Yeah.
Well done. See, it
I
takes
haven't
me.
seen it, but also Faye Dunaway, William Holden,
Yeah.
Peter Finch. I love Peter Finch. Like
That's got one of
Robert
the most
Duvall.
That's got one of the most
I
famous
need to
lines
watch
in
this
history.
movie. Yeah, I need to watch. But again, like, those are heavy hitters that in Hollywood at that time, big deals, continue to be big deals. And Sylvester Stallone has not been back with any other movie since 1977 for the Oscars.
No. And I love the fact that he, like, in order to get the film made, he insisted that he be in it. Like, that is just so cool to me. I love the fact that he was the writer, director, actor. And yeah, he didn't have the clout, but it was such a low budget, little film that nobody expected anything of. He got the opportunity to do it, and yeah, major props to him.
So that's my pick.
I like it.
That's a great pick.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm going to be in Philly in a couple weeks, so I'm excited.
And you've been to Philly before, right?
Yeah, one other time.
Yeah. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want some really good food picks, follow Val on Facebook.
Follow my heart attack.
Yeah.
I haven't even posted what I didn't finish last night. Oh my gosh.
I love following your travels with food. It's just awesome.
Lots of really good food.
We need a food podcast, guys.
We kind of do. I'm excited to see the Philly cheesesteak that you get. I'm just
now I have to get one because you said.
Well, and Dave's from Philly, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to take it.
He's from Harrisburg, but close enough.
Okay.
Yeah, but nobody ever says they're from Harrisburg.
That's like saying that you're really from Longview, but you say you're from Dallas.
Yeah. And everybody's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, Salt Lake City, because nobody knows what Taylorsville is.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City.
I'm from Magna. Where's that? It's Salt Lake. Mine.
Magma? What?
Magma?
Sexatuilla. Oh, how do you spell that? Don't ask. All right.
You just take Bangerter Highway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just keep going.
All right, Tracy, what's your pick? We know it's not No Country for Old Men.
I debated on that one. No Country is, I think, one of the most accessible Coen Brothers films. I love their stuff. I haven't seen Joel Coen's Macbeth with
Denzel Washington.
Thank you, Denzel. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
When you've watched that, we should definitely do a talkie.
I'm excited to see that one. Anton Chigurh is one of the best villains in the modern era. Like, the stuff that they do with that character is just insane. You got Tommy Lee Jones. So that one I almost picked, but I'm going to take us back to, I think it's 2008. Yes. The first film that was directed and nominated for Best Picture by a woman. I'm going with The Hurt Locker.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Kathryn Bigelow. I first found Kathryn Bigelow's work when I was working at the video store, and it was probably 97 or 98, and we got a screener in, and this was back in the day. You used to get VHS tapes of movies before they came out, and we would be able to take them home and watch them so that we could talk about them when they came out and try and upsell customers and stuff like that. And she had a film called Strange Days with Ralph Fiennes, and I had just seen Ralph Fiennes in Schindler's List, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of a cyberpunk thriller, and didn't know anything about it, didn't know what to expect, and that film blew my mind. Like, that film just rocked me, with the cinematography, with the coloring, with the story that she was telling, and I'm like, this is somebody I want to pay attention to. And it's so cool to see how far she's come, because she did Point Break, which was a big hit, but then she did, I think it was it Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis? I want to say it was Blue Steel. I could be wrong. But anyway, she, as they both go to their phones.
Sorry.
I love the Google machine. No, feel free. But I love it bothers me that it took until 2008 to get a nomination for a female director. And she's still only the second, one of two. She was the first. Zhao with Nomadland was the second one last year. But this is a story that is all about, it's got Jeremy Renner and Anthony Mackie. So before they were in Marvel, they were in The Hurt Locker together. And Jeremy Renner plays this the explosive device guy who can
plays the human detonator is what
he
plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so he goes in and tries to undetonate the bombs during the Iraq War. And the thing that's so interesting with that film, as I love, is they have like really close over the shoulder shots, and they actually have like some point of view shots where you're inside the helmet. And the sound design is so great because all you're hearing is his breathing and the radio talk. And they're talking about which wire do you cut? How's this laid out? And the way that it's filmed, the tension just builds and builds and builds. And each set piece gets more intense than the previous one, which you don't think is possible till you get to the next one. Eventually at the end, where we have the poor Iraqi citizen who has been chosen to be a suicide bomber. He didn't choose it, but somebody else chose it. And Renner's trying to defuse the bomb, and eventually he can't do it and has to leave, and the guy explodes. And it's a raw, powerful film. This is a woman who was married to James Cameron for a while. So you know that she's tough because he is not going to be easy to be married to. And then I'm just a big, big fan of her work. She went on to do Zero Dark 30.
Love Zero Dark 30.
She hasn't done anything for a little while, but she's a really, really underappreciated director.
Detroit was a fantastic movie.
Yes.
That was really, if you haven't seen Detroit, I saw that in the theater, and I have never, except for when we went to A Quiet Place, I don't know that I've been in a theater that was more quiet at certain moments than during that film.
I could see that.
Hard. Yeah.
I could absolutely see that. So I'm a big fan of Catherine Bigelow. If you have not checked out her work, do so. Yeah, Point Break with Keanu Reeves, with Patrick Swayze. Yeah, so I went with The Hurt Locker.
Nice. Good pick. I put a list together because I wasn't sure what people were going to pick. And then that way I felt like no matter what, I would have
I've got a backup.
Yeah, backup. And one of them that was on my list was Return of the King. And we've talked Lord of the Rings recently, so I was really hoping not to dig into that one. But I mean, obviously those are my favorite movies.
What a great culmination to that trilogy.
Yeah, it was. And I don't know that it was the most deserving out of the trilogy to win Best Picture, but I think it was, and we always talk about this, it was an award for the whole trilogy. Yeah. But then others that were on my list, Braveheart, which I know we've talked about on the show before. And Rocky was definitely on my list. And I even looked at some of the ones that were older that I really enjoy, like You Can't Take It With You, which was like back in the 30s or 40s. Best Years of Our Lives, which is a fantastic film.
I haven't seen that one.
It's post World War II, and it deals with what is it like coming home from the war. And one of the guys in the film was actually a soldier in the war that lost both of his hands, and so he had two hooks for hands instead of hands. And so it's kind of, what was life like after the war for these that came home from these traumatic experiences. So, which is an interesting film to go back and watch because it was made so close to World War II. And a lot of times we think historically of everybody kind of being on the same page during World War II. We all got behind the soldiers. We were all behind the war effort and everything else. And there wasn't a lot of discussion, at least in our collective memories, of like how hard it was and the trauma that happened afterward. But I think he just handed me some Pop-Tarts. Because
I mean,
hey, if somebody's going to deliver you Pop-Tarts, that's
nobody's
awesome.
delivering me Pop-Tarts in this little box.
Yeah. Don't they have even just wrapped cinnamon rolls or something?
Like I have to go all the way out there.
They've got 5-day-old cinnamon rolls. They've got
and I've been. It's been a problem before. Just make sure you check the expiration date on the yogurts if you have a yogurt.
Oh, I don't eat yogurt.
Okay, well then you'll be fine.
But I have a leftover Monte Cristo in the fridge.
Wow.
I told you I'm going to die in Texas.
That is such a guilty pleasure sandwich. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Monte Cristo sandwiches, though. Whenever I think of them, I think of Blue Bayou sitting there.
I have never experienced that.
All right, we're taking a road trip. It's closed through the summer, but we're taking a road trip. We're doing a Disney food trip. That's all there is to it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sorry to get in the way of your pick.
No, it's fine.
You said Pop-Tart, so
I know I was the one that took it there.
So his pick is going to be
if anybody saw his head kind of pop in as he was. Ben, my youngest, he's very into sharing. Whenever he gets candy or whatever, he's like, oh, are you enjoying that candy? And I feel bad because if I comment on it, I know he's going to give me some. So I try not to say anything because, like, if I'm like, oh, is that candy good or whatever? He's like, yeah, but sharing is better. Here, Dad, you can have one. And I'm like, all right, you're too kind.
Oh.
But the movie that I ended up picking was Gladiator, which won in 2001. Nice. This was Russell Crowe at the peak of his career. I think we can safely say. I don't know that this was in the run when he was doing Cinderella Man, A Beautiful Mind.
Yep.
All of those movies that he was just really kind of coming into his own as an actor. This movie is so good. Joaquin Phoenix is amazing in this. Like, he is in everything. I mean, the guy knows how to act. He's a weird duck in real life, but the guy knows how to act for sure. And then you've got Ridley Scott as the director. And this seemed like this was a really kind of big theme in the 90s. You've got the guy who's been through war and hell and loses his family, and then he, ends up fighting the power because he lost his family. Because we saw it with Braveheart, we saw it with The Patriot, and now here in Gladiator. But it's a theme that I like a lot, and I think that this is really well played. The music, though, in this movie is just phenomenal. Sets the tone so well, and it's just amazing. When I was in Germany on my LDS church mission, we weren't allowed to listen to like popular music. We could listen to like churchy music, and you can only listen to Motab so many times before like, all right, we need something different. And then our mission president was okay with us listening to like film scores.
Oh, nice.
So Gladiator was one that someone in our ward was able to burn onto a CD for me. And I listened to that quite a bit. And so it brings me back to that time as well. But
had you seen it before your mission, or was the music
No, I had seen it before.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those, you guys know, and we've talked about this before, I'm very selective about the R-rated films that I'll go see. And I try to research it to make sure, because there are things that I just feel are inappropriate that I don't want to see. And so I'll research and whatever. But this was my teenage years. I was a little bit more rebellious and I watched more. And this was one that I had seen, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's just such a great movie from start to finish.
Yeah.
So that's my pick, is Gladiator.
That one was like so groundbreaking in terms of a lot of the effects, which hold up, which isn't always the case, those scenes with the Coliseum that they built and the crowds inside, it's remarkable what they pulled off. And Ridley Scott's talked for years, and it looks like it's finally going to happen, that he's going to revisit that story, and it'll probably be Maximus's kid that will follow. So that'll be interesting to see. Val's not happy about that one.
Alone.
I'm with Val on this, to be honest. Like, I get it. Here's the thing. There's no secret that Hollywood's about making money. And if people don't understand that that's what it is, then they're dumb. Right. And they're not dumb. Sorry.
He didn't make money on The Last Duel, so he's got to recoup that somewhere else.
Maybe he should start making better movies.
So he had that, and what was the Prada one with Lady Gaga this year?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Two stinkers in a row.
And I'm so bummed because he did the 2 Alien prequels, and we're never going to get the 3rd one, and that just bums me out.
Yeah.
He's an interesting director. He's hit or miss for me.
He is. This is definitely a hit for me.
This is a hit, yes.
But it is a movie that I don't think we need to revisit the story. And there's so many movies that we can just let them stand. It's okay to have a movie that's just that one film. And I feel like this is in that same category. I think it cheapens the first one sometimes, even when you do it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. So
yeah, absolutely. Even if it's done well.
Do like a Ridley Scott month.
Yeah.
We could do that.
He's got Gladiator. Gladiator 2 is on here.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's officially greenlit, but it's basically like whenever he says that he wants to go, they'll go.
IMDb. We've got The Martian, Kingdom of Heaven, Blade Runner 2049.
No, he was the producer on that. He didn't direct that one.
But if we're doing a Ridley Scott month, any movie that he's touched, I think we can
those two films are great. Yeah,
Alien, The Last Duel. I would like to talk about The Last Duel just because I have a lot of things to say about that movie.
Okay.
Black Hawk Down, one of my favorite movies. American Gangster, Robin Hood, I absolutely love. I know people don't love that Robin Hood movie. I love it.
It's not a bad. I think the problem with Robin Hood,
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, it's a good Robin Hood movie. I think the problem with Robin Hood in general is we've gotten so many Robin Hood movies that I think I'm just Robin Hooded out. Even still, even though it's been years. Okay. All right. Maybe we could do a Robin Hood month and do Robin Hood.
No, I don't think that would be a good idea. I think one episode where we just talk about all the Robin Hood movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that it was a good idea until I said Prince of Thieves, and that
no, we're out.
I like Prince of Thieves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and speaking of movies that didn't necessarily need to be made, the new Matrix, I liked it, okay, but it's another one that was just unnecessary, and
I didn't like it at all.
So it had some moments.
It was so convoluted, and I don't know. And I get that it's Matrix, and I get that Matrix is weird in general, but I agree.
It wasn't weird though. It just didn't. It didn't know what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like, are you making fun of yourself, or are you like what? I don't know. I don't know as an audience member
how I'm supposed to feel.
Yeah. For me, I watched it because I had seen the original Matrix movies, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is all about. Keanu Reeves, we really like him, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. And any episode that you find where I say anything to the contrary, it was obviously lies. He's fantastic. But here's the thing. I watched it, and there were times where I was like, I am bored. I want to turn it off. And that's a bad sign for me in a movie. Yeah. I can watch a lot of different movies and be entertained or intrigued. I don't need fast-paced story or anything like that. But this was just boring.
And Tracy, I do have to say, there were moments where I was like, this character and this actor playing this character, I was like, this is really cool. I would like to know more about this.
Yeah.
Like, and there were some visuals where when Jada Pinkett Smith, like her character and the visuals around where she's at, like where I really liked a lot of that. But I feel like that, and then the beginning of the movie, and then some of the crap mixed in between that, I was like, what? I don't know what I just thought it was so many different ideas.
It was absolutely, it was not a tight film at all. It meandered.
Yeah.
I do think we are going to have another Best Picture with a female actor or a female director win. So I'm just going to throw that out there. We have two opportunities for a Best Picture with a female director to win, and I think that's going to happen.
The Power of the Dog, is that where you're going?
Well, we have The Power of the Dog, and we have
Coda.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was a female director. Yeah. I don't think Coda will win, but I think Power of the Dog has
there's a chance.
Really good chance.
There is a chance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think those are the two that it's going to come down to is Coda.
Yeah. So there was a really interesting article. It's a little controversial, but it was a really interesting article, and I'll have to find it and put it on our Facebook page, about how the Academy Awards is starting to look at having a system where you have to have had a certain amount of people with disabilities or a certain amount of people that are minorities in order to even be nominated. And so it's hard.
I can see where that gets a little sticky.
And to ask people to give very specific details about their lives to be the crew members, so you can keep it in a database, so you can be, I mean, there's a lot of trouble. I like the idea behind it, but there's a lot of
being supportive and inclusive, but like,
right.
I mean, I've had to apply for some new jobs lately over the last couple of months.
Right.
And it gets like really intrusive to the point where I don't really want to get into my mental health issues with you. But if you hire me and I have these, they get to mark it off on some database somewhere that they went out of their way to hire someone with a mental health issue, because now in certain places, having a mental health issue like the one that I have is considered a disability on the disability list.
Wow.
And I want jobs to be available for the best person for the job. And whether that person is green,
male,
blue,
female.
Orange, male, female, has all their limbs, does not, just whatever is going on, I don't care as long as they are the best person for the job.
Yeah.
I like the idea of, you have some actors or filmmakers that say, I want to make sure that this set has a percentage of women, just so that you make sure that you go and look for women, or a percentage of minorities, so you go look for minorities, and a percentage of, like, that's fine, but to make it mandatory,
yeah,
I think now you're taking it away from the people that have a disability or that are a minority or whatever, because now people are going to say, did they get the job?
Hired.
Exactly. But there has to be, I get why people want it to happen, because you have a certain amount of people, and we all do this every day. We sit down, we think of people that we know, and we invite them to do things or projects or whatever. And sometimes it's just easier to think within that circle. And we all need to start thinking outside of our circle to make the circle bigger for more people. So I get it. It's like, how do we do it? Like, I get it. That is controversial, because how do we do it in the right way?
Yeah.
To open the circle for more people to come in. Yeah, that's sticky. Yeah, please post that. I definitely want to read it.
It's a really well written and nuanced article, and it's one of the industry publications. So yeah, I'll post that. Do you guys plan on watching the Oscars, or are you just going to like check social media to see the winners?
So I'm still going to be at the convention hall tomorrow, but I'm going to try and watch it. I'm also a little behind because I was supposed to watch Moon Knight like 2 days ago, the first 3 episodes. So I need to watch that today. So I might have to do the social media thing and then go back and watch certain clips. So it'll just all depend.
Yeah.
I think more than likely I'll watch what I can, but it's going to be mostly just following up the next day.
And it used to be must-see TV to me, and it's just not anymore.
It's now it's much easier. Like, I want to know the big categories and who wins, but it's hard to sit through a show that's as long as it is, and just with kids and things like that. They're not going to sit and watch it.
And I wish, and we've talked about this before, like how they expanded the amount of best picture nominees to be more inclusive and all that. But I think that they forget to celebrate the fun of going to the movies and the art behind it. And instead it's almost like a lecture about how we're smarter and we're better, and we're going to tell you why this is the case. And instead of, this is a big tent and there's tons of movies, and let's celebrate this thing that we all love. Which I think they really need to get back to if they have any chance of keeping this show going, because the ratings last year, and granted it was a COVID year and everything was weird, but they only had 10 million viewers last year, which sounds weird to say only, but they used to get almost Super Bowl numbers. And if they don't come close to that, if they come close to that this year, they're in real trouble.
I think with social media, we can see our celebrities so many other places that I just don't think we're ever going to get back to that place.
Yeah. And I think I agree. And I think as we've seen the movie industry start to adapt and evolve and things like that, as we consume media different, I think things like Oscars are going to evolve and change too, because the interest just isn't going to be there. And I think they're looking more, I think the other thing that networks will start doing is they're going to look more at, okay, well, how many views did we get on YouTube for the clips, and how many this and how many that, and looking for other ways to kind of leverage where and how people are accessing that stuff instead of just how did the show itself do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know. They're going to have to, if they want to keep surviving, figure out how to leverage that and use it to their advantage. So,
well, we would love to know. I would love to know personally, like everyone that's watching or listening, like, did you see any of the movies this year that were nominated for Best Picture? You know, like what was the percentage that you saw? Did you tune in? Did the movie that you thought, like, I just kind of want to know what everybody's doing. So please like share with us like what you thought about this year's movies, what you thought about the Oscars. You know, it was a lot easier the last couple of years to consume movies because it's just easier to get to them now. But yeah, I kind of want to know.
And it'll be interesting to see over the next few years how that changes, because I don't know that there's any way going back to exactly how it was before.
No.
But I also don't want to lose the movie going experience.
I do know that we, film critics, we got an email this last week telling us that all blockbuster movies, not like independent films, but all blockbuster movies are now going to be screened with mass audiences again, like we used.
Oh, nice.
There will be some of the critics don't love that because they're not ready to go back.
I get that. Yeah.
Some movies will still have screener link availabilities. But it's now we're going to be in a theater. I went and saw the new Sandra Bullock movie the other day, The Lost City, and we were crammed in there like pandemic had never happened. It was full, and they gave us our seat even as critics, and we all sat next to each other, and it was a full theater. So I think I love that experience, but I do think that studios are like, okay, we want to push everybody back into the theater. So
most definitely.
Nobody seemed to mind. We gave, tickets were given away on radio stations and television and all of that kind of stuff. And it was full. There was no empty seat in that theater. And it was a big theater.
That could just be the anticipation for The Lost City with
that looks like a lot.
Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. I mean, I'm sure that's what really drove everybody to go see it.
My review, I'm a little behind. My review for that will be up on Tuesday. I know the movie has already opened, but I did give that a B.
Nice. That's kind of what I was hoping.
It wasn't like amazing, but there were so many fun moments. It's definitely not my favorite Sandra Bullock movie or my favorite Channing Tatum movie. But there were so many great moments, and the cameo from Brad Pitt just made my whole month. Was fantastic. But there is something to be missed about the Sandra Bullock rom-com. And then Dave and I 2 nights ago turned on the TV, and her and Ryan Reynolds movie was on, and we just had to watch it. The Proposal. And so I think, rom-coms might be making a comeback. So
yeah, that's fine. There's room for rom-coms for sure. So, all right. Well, we would love to hear from you what your favorite Oscar winner was, from Best Picture winner, I should say, from years past, and what you thought of the Oscars this year. You can send that email to podcast@moviesthatmakeus.com, or you can reply or post a comment to this on Facebook or YouTube or wherever. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks for watching. And in the meantime, we won't see you at the movies. Dun, 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 dun.
This has been a Stolen Droids Media production.